Well, what I remember is, can I take a break?
Yeah, you can. We can start again. So September 2011, before you are elected as president, there was an amazing week of crazy that happened that targeted firefighters. That is one of your arguments, your contentions, where the firefighters point to events that leads to no confidence. Chief Santiago takes the position over a couple of months before, and in September on the 21st through the 24th, there's a couple of days where there's a shooting involving Kevin Wilbur. There was a bomb that was dropped, or some type, a bomb scare, and another shooting that happened on the 24th.
Correct.
Why is this important to Toledoans in your argument against Chief Santiago? Why are firefighters concerned, and why do they all of them keep pointing to the shootings?
Because the fire administration surely should have known that Kevin Williver was an issue. He was off on medical leave act. Was
he a firefighter?
He was an inspector up on the 17th floor of the government center, the same floor where the captain of EMS, Allison Armstrong, worked. She noticed Fire Inspector Kevin Williver going through desks up on the 17th floor on Tuesday, and she wrote a communication up the chain of command. Went as far as the assistant chief.
Like, you're talking September 20th.
September 20th. That
so
Tuesday,
day before the shooting happens.
Day before the shooting happens, that Kevin's up there rifling through desks, and was a concern. And she knew that Kevin had some issues. And then the shootings happened on Wednesday. The first day of the shootings. A drive-by at Station 6, or shooting at 6's station over at Star and Euclid. And there's also reported of a shooting at Nines, or Nines fire truck may have been hit by a bullet. That night, they shut 6's down.
Did they ever do that?
No, not, well.
Was it unprecedented?
Unprecedented. I would say it was unprecedented. Shutting an engine house down for the safety of the crew was unprecedented. However, the body was inflamed to find out that they never notified the rest of the people working that day that engine houses are being shot at.
I'm sorry. There's a shooting at a firehouse.
Yes.
And outside of the members living in that house, your firefighters, none of the other houses knew of the shooting?
No.
Do you think that was to stop hysteria? Is there a reasonable explanation as to why it wasn't?
There's absolutely no reason.
Is there a system in place in case of something like this where all the other houses could get that information?
We put out announcements over the radio every day, and put out a general announcement that engine houses are being shot at. And even if they wanted to keep it confidential, all we had to do is put out a conference call, which we do every day. We have a conference call and say, look, we've heightened level of alert. We have engine houses being shot at, and that way at least the rest of the body would be at a heightened level to be looking out for their own safety. And those calls were never made. And in his townhouse meeting on May the 13th, the one I went to, I asked him, or one of the firefighters said how disappointed he was in not being notified of the shootings that day, and that he found out about it at 3 o'clock in the morning at a fire from another crew. And the chief said, yeah, we really dropped the ball on that. But then he said collectively it didn't cross their minds to put out an announcement that engine houses are being shot at. That's a concern. That's a concern for our safety and the citizens' safety.
How did Kevin Williver get this job? How was he hired?
At the time, I believe his father was the chief of the fire department.
So his father was former chief?
He was the chief when he got the job.
So he was the chief. So previous fire chief Williver hires his son in this position.
Correct.
His son then, dealing with whatever mental issues he's dealing with, launches a multiple-day assault against a couple of different firehouses.
Right. So
was there any
warnings? We can walk through. Allison, Captain Armstrong, gave warnings on Tuesday when she says she sees Kevin Williver rifling through desks. And then after the first day of shooting on Wednesdays...
Did she report that?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, so that wasn't like something she saw and she just
No, she
brought up
wrote
later.
a communication. She wrote a communication and sent it through chain of command, like she should.
So that day, the brass, so to speak, management knew.
All the way up to the assistant chief, yes. Right. And also, early in July, Kevin Williver was off on extended leave.
Okay.
So they knew that he was off.
Okay.
And they also should have known that he was going to be fired on that Thursday.
So his job, Kevin Williver's job, was in jeopardy?
Absolutely.
Why was his job in jeopardy?
Because of his performance and his probably the concerns of his illness.
Is there a relationship between Chief Williver and Chief Santiago?
Chief Santiago would have been the assistant chief under Chief Williver. He was the assistant chief under Chief Williver. He was number 2 in charge.
So they had a strong working relationship.
I would have to say yes.
There's all sorts of reports and about a death threat. Something that was specific where the chief says one perspective of the story, and maybe it's changed and it's evolved, and you guys hear a different part. Clarify the record.
For the record, I asked that question in his May 13th. I asked several questions in that May 13th meeting in front of 80 to 90 firefighters.
So this is a couple years past. Now this
couple years past.
Right.
People are pretty tight-lipped, but there was a rumor that there was a note. And since people retired, they have come out and they told me that yes, a note existed. But they didn't come forward because they fear of retaliation.
Who would retaliate? So there's some retaliation.
The fire administration.
Okay.
So, in this meeting on May 13th, I asked the chief, why did you not give up Kevin Williver when the police detectives came to you? And his answer was, we didn't know it was him. We believe he surely should have been on the radar. If they ask the questions, according to what we've been told, they ask the questions, people don't shoot and leave bombs in engine houses. This has to be internal. Is there somebody that we should be looking at that's about ready to be fired, that you're having problems with? And the chief said, no one. However, the first shooting then on Wednesday, bomb on Thursday, Captain Armstrong goes over to Sixes, where the first shooting happened, and she runs into the 2 detectives who, there's a family history. Her father was a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a family history of friendship there on the police side. And to be honest with you, police and fire have such a great bond in the city of Toledo. You know, we're brothers. So she tells the detective, you better be looking at Kevin Williver. So it was a shock to them that Kevin was the suspect.
Is this Allison's house? Is this where she normally
No,
is?
she was a captain of EMS. She was working up on the same floor and saw Kevin rummage through the desks.
So just by chance, the police investigator...
Just by chance, a police investigator was at Sixes when she went over there to see if they were okay.
And this is the first solid lead that the police get that it could be a firefighter and specifically this person.
Yes.
What did they do then? What did police do then after that?
The police put a watch or a tail on Kevin. They were at his house Saturday night, watching him in his home on Nevada and Euclid, which is about 2 blocks from Sixes.
On the night of the second shooting?
On the night of the second shooting, absolutely.
How did he get out of the house?
I don't know, but he got away from him.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he got away from him, and Kevin fired a round through the front door at Sixes on Saturday night. That bullet ricocheted and ended up hitting one of the lieutenants and did not injure him severely, fortunately. But they heard that gunshot, and they came down the street because they knew Sixes. And they basically caught Kevin climbing in through the side window where the kitchen was. Side window, and he was loaded for bear.
When you say loaded for bear, what do you mean?
He had multiple clips, a 9mm, and he had body armor on. He could have easily killed all 7 members that were at Sixes that night.
So from this, from the shooting, this is a huge point of contention from you representing your firefighter.
Because of the death threat note. And the death threat note was confirmed in his meeting. I asked the question, was there a death threat note? And his response to that question was, Chief Santiago's response to the death threat, when I asked him, said, Yes, there was a death threat note, but it was only towards him, and it was given to him after Kevin was arrested. The truth is, according to Chief Cervantes, who 2 or 3 days ago went on camera, or no, what, told Channel 11 that that note was given to him on Friday night, the night about 4 o'clock, the day before the shootings on Saturday.
Any signature on the note? Anything that would tip specifically?
That note was found in Kevin Williver's desk up on the 17th floor of the Government Center, where he worked, by a lieutenant who directly gave it to the Assistant Chief Cervantes, who then gave that note to Chief Santiago at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday. And on that note, it was told to me that it said that Kevin needed to cleanse the fire department from the bosses. Not boss, bosses. And on that note, there was some scribblings, a picture of a gun with bullets coming out, shooting Chief Santiago.
Would he communicate
that note was never given to the police department.
Where's the note today?
I would ask Chief Santiago, because the next question, after he said in his meeting May 13th that the note existed, but it was only towards him, I asked him, and he was pretty clear. He knew when it was found, when it was given to him. Well, he said when it was given to him, but he knew it was just against him. And it was given to him after Kevin was arrested. I asked him the question, what did you do with it? And in front of 80 to 90 firefighters, his answer to that was, I do not recall.
Did that go over well?
Did not go over well. Jaws hit the floor. We have people that he is leading, and he expresses to them that there was a death threat note, and he could recall that it was only towards him, and it was given to him after Kevin was arrested, which our sources say absolutely not is true. It was given to him before Kevin was arrested, and that it was to cleanse the department of bosses, not just the chief. And he then does not recall what he did with that note. I believe is criminal.
Is there a reason why you would believe that he would cover up for Kevin?
Other than the relationship that he had with his dad, Mike Williver, the previous chief, who trained him to be the chief.